ahead and learn, practice. It starts with the small stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it starts with those little snide remarks that Bobby's saying down the hall. Hey, Bobby, you know, we cool and everything, but when you say this, it kind of offends me.
Yeah.
Or not. I've been working on taking cushion words out too. So don't say kinda. It offends me.
Oh yeah, I hate the word kinda.
Yeah. Or just don't say just. Don't say kinda. Don't say sometimes. Make it direct. Make it clear. Make it plain.
The top 3 responses that I get when I ask, why do you want to leave corporate America, are that you want financial freedom, you want to own your own time, and you want to build a legacy for this generation and generations to come. Now, this is not a solo job. In order to transition from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship, it's going to take community and it's going to take resources. And I've created the community of pioneers who are going to wrap around you and help you make that transition successfully. So if you're interested in leaving your job, go ahead and click that information below. Let's get into the community and let's transition from your 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship successfully. Now let's get back to the episode.
Welcome to the Work and Play podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
I am your host, Ariel Young, and I am super blessed to be sitting down next to this woman right here, Miss Lynn.
Yes.
Would you please introduce yourself to the folks?
I am Lynn, and as I said before, I'm trans color, so brown skin. Call me by my name. But I work in HR, and so it's really a passion of mine to help people and to help them grow and to see their potential and to help them build on it. Only because I feel like a lot of people in corporate America and being in HR, I've run into a lot of first-gen corporate people. Like a lot of people they haven't worked in corporate America. They don't have parents. Their parents aren't CEOs or executives or any kind of professional person. They're more so on the labor intensive side or a lot of people come from like a medical family. Like I come from a family of nurses and CNAs. So when I went into corporate America, I didn't really have anyone to ask questions about, like, how do I deal with this situation? Or how do I write an email? Or because you go to college and they teach you how to write in English and they teach you how to write essays and they teach you the English language, but they don't teach you how to address stuff in the workplace via email. They don't teach you how to be direct because all these essays that they ask you to write are so long, you know, so you end up going to the corporate world and writing 3-4 pages of an email. Nobody's going to read that. I'm sorry.
Wow. Keep going, child.
You know,
yeah.
Nobody wants to read that. And when people come into the workplace and I notice that they're doing that, I approach them and I say, hey, let me show you how to word your email, or let me show you how to cut it down. And depending on how you receive the information lets me know whether I want to help you more or I need to leave you alone. Because some people like to learn from trial and error, or some people feel that their way is the right way. But if you want to learn the right way, then I'm willing to help, you know?
You coming in with the fire immediately. You're the first person I've ever talked to who introduced the concept of a first generation corporate person. I literally thought I came up with that myself. Like, oh, we're here.
Yeah, we're here.
I honestly believe that is such a valuable thing for you to do. I feel like we're on 2 different sides of the same fight, right? When it comes to first generation corporate professionals, we know how to get in. There's so many resources available to help us know how to do a resume, how to interview your way in. You get in and then you're like, now what?
In limbo.
Yeah.
And you're lost and sometimes you're defensive because I feel like we grow up in a space of always having to defend ourselves. So especially when I don't know, if your parents work a lot, you know, they don't really teach you I didn't learn a lot of conflict resolution. You know, it was a thing of you made me mad, I'm walking away or I'm hit you. So
right.
Those are like 2 options. Yeah. There was no communication. So like, this is what you did and this is what I didn't like you did. And this is how I'm going to tell you, please don't do that again. You know, and I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to raise my voice. It's going to be a regular conversation. Because I think we grow up thinking the louder you are, the more you hurt. And it's the opposite, you know. You know, the less loud you are, the better. You know, the more you're able to kind of settle yourself and be able to communicate and communicate effectively. That's how you get to, you know, get your run on, get your bearings and I feel like I think I've run into a very many people that they have issues at work, but they let it go. And they don't say anything because they don't know how to approach it. They don't know if they can approach it. They have that fear there. If I do approach it, then this will happen to me.
Right.
But if you approach it the correct way, then it kind of corners people, and they're not allowed to kind of to get out of that corner and to retaliate on you or to, you know, make you feel like you shouldn't have addressed it in the first place. There is a way to say everything, and I've kind of learned it and I've mastered it because I watch people, and that's another thing. People talk more than they listen.
Facts.
If you learn how to listen and watch, that will be one of your best tools, being a first generation corporate person.
Okay.
You gotta watch.
So you're first generation corporate, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely have to know where you got the inkling like corporate was where I was gonna go. But where did you learn how to be savvy? Did you learn through trial and error, or did somebody like?
I learned through trial and error, and I learned through my mentor. And the thing that is so crazy, and I hope I'm not wrong for saying this, but when I approached a lot of women that looked like me, that were just older, I kind of got I would come to them and say, I want to be in HR. Okay, well, you know, just keep applying. You know?
Yeah.
Keep applying, you know, you'll get there. And then I met this other woman. I applied, and she was like, I see it. She was been in HR for 40 years, and she was like, you got it, and I'm going to mold it.
Got it.
You know? And so it was like God had came and like swooped me up and was like, you're going to be okay. I'm going to hook you up with her. She's going to teach you. And she's going to teach you in a way that you understand. And she's going to be patient with you. And she's going to care for you. And it was surreal. It was so crazy because when I met her, I think I was tainted by the corporate workforce. Because it was just like all the time, all the walls, you keep hitting these walls. And you're like, I'm trying, but you're all telling me what I'm doing wrong, but you're not telling me how to fix it or how to move around it. And then I posted the other day about going inward. I know I had a lot of anger issues. And so when people would even try to approach me about different things, because in corporate America, I feel like people think that, it's all about, you know, being professional and being nice. Yeah. People don't always say nice things. And you're not going to like the things that people say. And sometimes if you don't do things the right way, they're not going to approach you in a very like subtle, mommy nurturing type way, and it's going to be like, I don't like this, can you fix that? Or like, is this what you thought we were going to be able to work with? And so, and growing up in those spaces where it's either fight or yell, how do you take that in and still push outward? You know, like how do you take in that kind of feedback and then reply and be able to say things like, for example, if somebody approaches me like that now, I'm like, hey, I don't have a problem fixing that. You know, I understand this is urgent for you, but you know, when you approach me about certain things, you just please be mindful of how your tone and things like that. Yeah. You know, and it's a quick, and it has to become habit for you, but it's not a thing of yelling, but it's a thing of just having that natural reaction of, you know, if you can say things you don't like, I can too. Yeah. You know, and if you can approach me, then I can respond.
So I'm curious. You mentioned it so well, and we definitely have to dive into that, your mentorship, right? Because I feel like that's what stops a lot of people. People like when people get tainted in corporate. The mindset is, it doesn't matter what I do, what I say. Sometimes it's like, because I'm black, I can never do well, right? But the way you explain it is so matter of fact. Like, you explain what you have to say, you you set your boundaries, you communicate it, and the way you complain is like, the way you explain it is like, there's no love lost. It's just, this is how you navigate. So the way you navigate now, how do you experience your emotions without harboring it? Like, how do you release those like negative things? Because what I'm thinking is, before you found your mentor, right? You were tainted, right? Yeah. then you would agree with some people by saying like, there's nothing you can do. You can't talk to these people. There's nothing, right? Once you learned the game, was that like a self-care, so to speak? So now you can like...
Yeah, because I would literally be in meetings. So when I first got with my mentor, I would be in meetings in the very beginning of our relationship, and people would say things like for example, one guy said to me one time, I was talking, he was like, oh no, wait, well, because my mentor had went to the restroom, and he was like, oh no, you stop talking, well, we need to wait till she comes back. Basically, like, what you saying has no weight here, so you're just to sit here. Like, my title didn't hold any weight, like what I said and what I brought to the table wasn't good enough. And so that had pissed me off so bad that when she returned, she didn't know what happened, but I shut down.
Okay.
I didn't say anything for the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
I walked out of the meeting and I was furious.
Yeah.
Like, I was so angry. You could see the redness under my skin. She could see the tears welling up. I was so angry because I felt like I had been silenced, and I had been devalued. So she came into my office and she said, Lynn, I need you to do this. She was like, if you want to be an executive, you want to sit at the table. She was like, you need to suck all that shit up. She's like, and this is what you do. She's like, when somebody silences you, you don't allow them to. She was like, because what you did there and sitting and being quiet, I instantly knew that you thought that silent treatment was hurting them, but it was making them happy. She was like, is that what you want?
Right.
She was like, do you think VPs sit around the table and they don't get upset and don't like what people say? Do you think that when they don't like people say, they get quiet? No, that's when they talk more.
Yeah.
She was like, they don't be quiet and they don't. She was like, you need to work on your poker face. She was like, all those high emotions you have, turn them into work. She was like, turn that anger, and she was like, research. She was like, because guess what? Nobody can fight credibility. Nobody can fight facts. Nobody can fight anything that you say as long as it's real, it's a law, and it's right. She was like, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna do to you? She was like, and so I responded, and I was like, but you have the ability, which I feel like I don't have. I was like, because I already feel like Black women are looked at as being angry people.
Yeah.
So whenever I do assert myself or respond in a certain way, I don't want to be received as angry and blackballed. She was like, no, it's all in your delivery. She was like, and I'm going to teach you. So when he said that, she's like, oh, all you had to say was, well, I'm just going to tell you the same thing she's going to say, so let's continue.
Oh, I feel relieved already.
Yeah. And so you're like,
yeah.
She was like, give it back.
Yeah.
She was like, why do you take it and then hold on to it and then sit it here? She was like, you're silencing yourself. No one's silencing you.
That is so strong. So she really helped you manage your emotions, and that is such a sacred relationship because it sounds like she's a white woman. Yes. So one, you had to get through your trust issues, and then you had to get to a place where you are going to embody what this woman is saying, which allows you to now release your emotions as you work up the corporate ladder. Yes. That's a whole other world than I know, honey. And I really, really love that. I love to even imagine you going up the corporate ladder and still keeping your soul intact. Yes. Do you feel that way?
I do. And she's like, Lynn, I'm going to teach you how to navigate the boys club.
Ooh.
She was like, I'm going to help you get into their minds. She was like, and it's not a big mind. You're going to be okay.
Let's go. Okay. All right. So at this time, the golden part is learning how to navigate your emotions in the workplace. What is your relationship with the job? How long had you been in HR?
I've been in HR for about 5 years because I worked at Home Depot. I don't know if I can say the name, but I worked there for a long time. I was about 7 years. I started off as a cashier, then I moved to a head cashier, then I moved to a department supervisor, then I was a traveling trainer, and then after that I worked as a backup associate supervisor, department supervisor, which is like a store HR person. Okay. Then I moved on to have my own store and do HR in that way. And so for each step though, it was like, here's the rules. This is what you do. Here's the rules. This is what you do. And so, but every role that I entered in, I saw the rules and I said, I can improve this and I can improve this. This is good. Throw away that. And so they started sending people from corporate, from IT to be like, well, go talk to Lynn, or hire up people and go talk to Lynn. Cause she's like, I was at one point, one of my departments was number 2 in the region.
Nice.
So I've always been able to take information and make it better. Take a process, take something and make it better. And so in all my ways of navigating, I saw HR and I liked the people portion of it, but I didn't know it was so much business side of it too. And so when I figured that out, I was like, okay, now I'm going to, make sure I have the letters behind my name to make sure that I look credible on paper as well as in person.
Okay.
So then I moved up to the company I'm at now, and she really connected all the dots. Because I was able to, I worked in all those different capacities, and I worked in and learned a lot of stuff about HR. But it's a difference when you can learn about recruiting, a silo, and then you can learn about, workers' comp, and then you can learn about, employee relations, and you can learn about all the functions of HR. But until you are able to connect them and see why this has to be good so that can be good, and see how if you fix this can increase this. So if you do this will make this better. Or if you look at trends and data and you'll be like, okay, well that looks like this happened over here, so that's why that looks like that.
Yeah.
I had all the parts, but I didn't have the puzzle. So it's like looking at a picture and you got all your puzzle pieces laid out on a table, and I'm like, I know this is a picture, and I know this is this shape, and I know this is the shape, but when I got with her and I was able to mash all that together, I'm like, whew.
I'm a bad. Yeah.
I was like, try me down,
Yeah.
and it's just like the joy I feel when people look at me and say, is that okay? And I'm like, you looking for my blessing? And sometimes I can say no, sometimes I can say yes, and I like that. It's a thing of, it's not a thing of being, it is a thing of me. I like the power, and I like the ability to make my own decisions and to make a positive impact. I like the ability to see something being done wrong to someone and to be able to fix it, or to talk about it, or I like to be able to talk to her, and sometimes we run into issues and I'm like with backgrounds, for example, they'll say like, no, it's a hard no. And I'm like, I'm looking at it from my point of view, from my childhood, from my experiences. And I'm like, I say yes. And they're like, why? I'm like, because we don't know this man. We don't know what he went through. This was 7 years ago. We don't know, what he had to do or what his lifestyle situation was like at this time.
Yeah.
I'm like, so now we want to keep someone from being able to provide for their family.
Yeah.
Because of something that happened 7 years ago.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a conversation with my old manager. It's funny, I'm gonna give you a long story short so you understand the context. When I left my company, I ended up getting 2 years of unpaid leave, which made it so that I could keep a relationship with the manager that I had, just in case we just had to do paperwork or whatever, right?
Yeah.
We would have maybe monthly conversations or quarterly, whatever. In one of our final conversations, we had a conversation about hiring Black people. And what he said to me was, where's the value in just hiring a Black person? He didn't say these, I'm paraphrasing, right?
Yeah.
Where's the value of hiring a Black person just for hiring a Black person? You don't want to be making the wrong business decision, right? And what I said was something to the effect that, once you get to a point where you have a Black candidate and a white candidate at the table, and you have to assess their value as a Black person, or even when you bring up the background situation, right? Being able to understand how that person will add value to the organization. I think what I said was, I pray that, HR gets smart enough to be able to do that. And what you're saying is that mindset is what we need in the room to be able to communicate what that is. Are there any so one, Ooh, I got 2 questions. And I hate when that happens because I'm like, oh, I'm going to ask you both of them. Mm-hmm. My first question is, do you foresee any data opportunities to be able to take into account something that is not, they didn't go to Harvard, they didn't do this, they didn't have a GPA. It's like the value of this person that will bring value to this organization. Have you thought about ways to capture that in the data form, or are we going to always need someone to communicate or advocate?
Thank you so much for watching the Work and Play podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Boss Up Conference, which is a community for entrepreneurs, CEOs, celebrities, and corporate executives to come together, network, and solve some problems. Thank y'all so much for being supporters of the Work and Play podcast. And thank you for watching the Work and Play podcast and all the episodes before. Now let's get back to the episode.
I haven't figured out a way to put it in a data form. I wish somebody out there would. I know, in using myself as an example, they like to have me in the department because yes, I have the professionalism, the education, the ability to communicate, but I was also raised in West Philadelphia with at a young age. You know, my mom was a single mom for a very long time until she met my stepdad. I've experienced different things. I have friends from different backgrounds. I view things differently. I understand all of the systemic racism. I understand the oppression. I understand the different, ploys that the government put in place to oppress Black people. Yeah. So when I see certain backgrounds come across my desk, and I used to have a really hard time with another young lady in my department, because basically she was reporting to me, but I didn't like how every single time something small popped up, she would be quick to want to deny someone. And it was like a lot of them around like marijuana, or like small, like maybe small, like I don't want to say it's small, but like robbery and stuff like that. But it would be from years ago. Mm-hmm. And so her response would be no, because they're a bad person. And I like to feel like I'm not God. You know, like, who am I to look at your background and say you're not a good person? Mm-hmm. You know, who am I to look at your background and say you don't deserve opportunity, because I don't know what your options were. Yeah. You know, when you were in those spaces. And so I can't see the color of the person, but I could kind of guess. You know, and if it ends up being a different color, I want to afford them the same opportunities. I'm all for equality, but make it equal. You know, when I say like make it equal, I mean, I feel like Black people have a certain disadvantage when it comes to resume writing, networking, interviews, just interviewing for regular labor jobs. Because they can work physically, but they're unable to communicate that. Yeah. So it's not fair. Mm-hmm. So you have some guy that's ready to come in here and wow you with his words, and he gets out there and he can't do shit. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. But you got this guy sitting here and he desperately needs a job, but he can't tell you. You know, he can't answer all your, you know, questions about his past life, and you know, and you're looking at his resume and there's only 3 words on there, but you don't know he went to the library and this is all he can figure out. Yeah. You know, so mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. So yes, they will always need somebody in the room to be that unbiased, but also understanding of the various backgrounds, because you haven't, for example, my mentor, when we had BLM, just like blew up. It was going crazy after George Floyd. And we had a conversation, because she was like, well, somehow we got to the point where I was like, my mom, when I was younger, told me when you see the police, you answer questions and you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and you make it back home. I said, have you ever had any of those conversations with your kids? She said, it never crossed my mind. I said, so when your kids get stopped by the police, they're like, I'm gonna pay my ticket and go home. I said, most of the time when I get stopped, I'm like, damn, am I going to make it home?
Facts.
You know, so it's just a different, I said there's a different level of stress that we carry on a daily basis versus that you will never experience, that you never have experienced. So she was like, well, thank you for telling me that, you know, because it helps. Those conversations
Absolutely. And you know, sometimes a lot of people in our community will be like, "Oh, you wasting your time. You talking about," and I'm not just as radical as I can be. If when I get the opportunities to have those discussions, I do really take those discussions seriously because I'm like, hey, you just asked a very honest, ignorant question because you just didn't know. But then since you're open to hearing, I'm open to sharing. And I think our people get so exhausted with sharing. In your relationship, though, there's been this give and take. So you know you're not wasting your time when you enlighten someone. I just think a lot of us have been burned to like try to extend ourselves so that to help you understand what the perspective is. The other question I had, you see how I did that? It was you make those decisions, right? It's a certain risk.
Yeah.
Do you have a track record of being able to say, hey, here's the value of me being able to make these like unconventional hiring decisions?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
What does that look? Tell me, Lynn. I got it. Tell me, what is that? What's your track record in like hiring in those unconventional ways?
Do you mean like, have I done it on multiple occasions?
That's what I mean.
Okay.
And then how do you know the sauce now? You know what I mean? Because now you know how to do it again.
So for me, it's the conversation. I call people on the phone. Like, because if people come in my office and I'm like, I don't think I want to hire this person, or unfortunately, in the sales industry, there is a lacking of us, and that is because not a lack of a skill set, because I feel like we sell things. It's a lack of thinking that we could do it because of the way that when you're doing face-to-face sales, they're looking for a certain look, a certain, just cookie cutter type look. And so I always push the envelope. This person has the experience. This is what you asked for. These were your minimum requirements. These are your qualifications. This is what you picked out. There was nothing here that said you needed this or that. There's nothing in the book that says this person can't do it just as well as this person. Yeah. And so I push that envelope a lot in that particular area of the company. I push it a lot in any office type environment, because I feel like as long as you have all the qualifications and you're able to perform the essential job duties just as much as this person, why not choose this one? Why not? And I'm not saying that they should be, like you were saying earlier, picked over the other one. I'm just saying like the value that they bring, the different companies they've worked at, everybody sees things through their eyes differently. Yeah. And so if you keep continually to pick people that have the same mindset as you and the same background as you, and you have all these things in common with them, you are going to continue to build up a department that is you. Yeah. And so how will that take you to the next level?
So that being said, again, it's your perspective, it's your background, it's your ability to communicate this thing, and then to be able to advocate for certain candidates in the room. I think that is amazing. Amazing. So when I think about you sitting at the table across from a person that says, we don't need you to talk, we'll wait for her to come back into the room. One, I can understand where the fire comes from. And then what happens for your mentor to be able to give you the words to say, oh, I'm just going to say the same thing. What happens in that situation, what I'm feeling is the next time, because it will happen again, you can take all of that, what you just said, into a room and really bust it down. You know what I mean? But then I think about the people who are still where you said you were, tainted, and have not found a way to communicate their value in a room. Maybe they don't even know it yet. So my question is, without saying, because I want to be like, you're the chosen one, right? I want to say that, but I also want to say, like, how do we bridge the gap so that other women like us, other men and women like us, learn how to communicate? What would you say someone can do actively so that it's not a Hail Mary, so that it's not like a play by God, so that they can actually do something to figure out how to operate in rooms like that?
Therapy and practice. So when I get angry like that, or I overcome with those emotions, it's because, of issues that I have inside, like, because if someone's asking a simple question, just out of ignorance, and I get upset or defensive, that's on me, and then also you control how you react to stuff, and so if you're not able to sit in those rooms and have a conversation or communicate things that you like or you don't like, because you can't just talk when you're happy.
Yeah.
You have to talk when you're upset, you're disappointed, you're angry, you're frustrated. You have to be able to communicate in all spaces.
Facts. That is so simple. You can't just talk when you're happy.
Yeah, you can't, because a lot of people feel like, well, I'm not happy right now, so I don't want to talk. Or I close my door. I don't have that luxury. HR, people are going to talk to you all the time. So you have to be able, I may have came out of a meeting and I might be through the roof.
Yeah.
But then Mary comes to the door and she didn't do nothing to me, So
you still got to be able to let
you have to be able to let go. But you can't come back to your office with this, because I feel like a lot of people do this. They come back to the office and they're like, well, I should have said this. And I should have told them this. And I was feeling like, go ahead and learn, practice. It starts with the small stuff.
Yeah.
It starts with those little snob remarks that Bobby's saying down the hall. Hey, Bobby, we cool and everything, but when you say this, it kind of offends me.
Yeah.
Or not. I've been working on taking cushion words out too. So don't say kinda. It offends me.
Oh yeah, I hate the word kinda.
Yeah. Or just don't say just. Don't say kinda. Don't say sometimes. Make it direct. Make it clear. Make it plain.
You talk about little things. So practice and therapy, love it, right? You also do something that's really dope on your social media, which is I'm gonna try to say it right. 30 Days of Tough.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes.
So I think that is you owning everything that you just said. And like you said, doing this, like taking it, the small things. You shared a win where someone came into your office and they needed something from you, and you just said, "No, I won't be able to do that."
I won't be able to do it.
Can you tell me about the first win, right? The first win where you're just like, "Oh, that went completely different than it would have."
Let me see. A lot of meetings. So I have a lot of meetings, and my mentor loves to bring me into meetings with like the lead team. So sometimes there are people there are people in there that don't particularly like to be told what to do, and that's normal, because if you're in a position where you're most times telling people what to do, and then there's somebody that you feel that is in a lower level than you telling you what to do, of course you might not like that, and I understand that. So I've learned how to be in those spaces. Like I rolled out an applicant tracking system. The company didn't have one at all. Which is hard to believe. Applicant tracking system is what you would call like your Workday, your Brass Rings. Everybody applies on most of the time on an applicant tracking system.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah. So I rolled one out, and they use it company wide now. So when I did roll it out, I had to explain it to the executives and, tell the return on investment and, what this would do to help the company. And so there were a lot of people in there like, well, what's wrong with the old way? Why we can't do it the way we've been doing it? Why you come here and, and they didn't say it that way, but that's where they were going with it. And so then you saw how they kind of shut down the meeting and they were like, well, I'm not going to learn how to do it. But again, in the past, I would have been offended by those things. But then I kind of got my wings up under me now. And so my thoughts were, I picked this. The president chose it with me. He approved it. It's company wide. I did this. It's not going away. If you don't want to learn it now, you'll learn it later. And so I kept talking.
Ooh.
And so I'm like,
somebody's gonna get this.
Yeah, like I'm like, I understand. And so when he said that, well, why we can't? I said, I understand. I said, but and then you educate. I understand. But these are the things that it's going to allow us to do. And, we're hoping for the best. And this is the amount of money that we saved so far, testing it out. And, we ran all the numbers. And, so this was a good choice for the company.
Yeah.
And I hope that you, join us.
How would that have gone? No, you know what? Yeah. How would that have gone? Well, we kind of know how that would have gone. Lynn would have. I know because I had to work on my faces a lot. So my initial reaction probably would have been like, and then how in the beginning, my mentor, she used to just pick it up. Because she would see me instantly switch over and she'd be like, well, guys, she was really good about making it smooth and, picking it up and being able to talk. So when we walked out that meeting, she was like, I'm so proud of you. She was like, that was amazing. Like, you did amazing. She's like, I'm so impressed. And I was like, yes. I love it. I love it. Man, okay. So one thing that's clear, for those of us who want to work in leadership, and centering this around Black people, my mind is going to us, so I'm going to stay there. For us to be able to navigate in corporate America specifically, right? Having a certain level of emotional intelligence is imperative. I believe emotional intelligence is important around the board.
It is. But it's lacking.
It's lacking. And my mind is going into this bias where I feel like, why do we have to learn emotional intelligence and they don't? Right? That's my mind. It's like they can be negative and then they can just kind of say whatever they want to say, and we have to be able to absorb and release.
We do.
Which I love.
We do because I've had a few people come by my office and say something like, well, excuse my candor, Lynn, and just say whatever the hell they want to say.
Yeah.
And it's the thing of I approached you and I prefaced it with excuse my candor. So now I'm going to literally say whatever I want to say. And so then we have to be able to take that information and respond professionally. And so after talking to my mentor about it and feeling the way that you do, she said it's not about a thing about being the bigger person, it's about being the smarter person. And so everybody's not going to be the smarter person. And everybody's not going to have that emotional intelligence and partnered with their skill. So you have to make a choice. She told me that in the very beginning. And I've seen it before. She was like, you ever seen a person that does a really great job and you wonder why they never moved up? And she said, because they weren't the smarter person.
They weren't the smarter person, the emotionally smarter person?
Yep.
That's real. Okay. Here, a learning that I just realized. So I have spent a long time advocating for entrepreneurship, and one of the things that my mom has always told me is, Ariel, you got to play the game.
Yep.
And I have always responded with, I don't want to play the game. I'm me. Like, well, I don't want to listen. Yeah. And what I learned in entrepreneurship is that you have to have the same, if not more, emotional intelligence to navigate as an individual. Because the atmosphere is actually less regulated. The bureaucracy might even be easier to navigate. When I think about the situations that I've been in, if I had the tools to just express it, I think I'd have been a firehouse. But because I said, I don't want to play the game, I'm tainted, I left. And then I decided to go into entrepreneurship because I honestly do feel like I thrive better in that space. There's a certain me that if I don't have a manager to be that barrier, everything's going down. We're going down, guys.
But I always tell people,
I've gotten so many questions about this brand, and I'm super excited to share that this episode is sponsored by Black is Wealth Clothing. Now, Black is Wealth was created to inspire and empower our culture to tap into our wealth. Now, when we talk about wealth, we're not just talking about financial wealth, we're talking about the strength, resilience, and brilliance that lives inside of all of us. Now, by tapping into our wealth, we can create any form of wealth that we desire. So, if you like this shirt or any other shirt that you've seen me sport on my Instagram or any other platform, then go check them out at blackiswealth.com. I love this one, and y'all are gonna love it too. Now let's get back to the episode.
Entrepreneurship is amazing. If you can find your niche and move into it, then and because I feel like in corporate America, there are a bunch of referees around. Somebody's always watching to flag you, you know, and then to run it back and say, run it back. HR, look at this, look at this. This is a red flag. You need to call it on them. And it's like, lots of things are not red flags, you know. Lots of things are just you and your emotional issues and your fragile. You're just fragile, and everything is not as huge as we make it. So I like that people move into the I wish I could. I'm always looking to find my little niche. Like, how do I move out there? But from a young girl, I can remember I wanted the whole office. I want to go up in the elevator. I want the glass, you know, office. I want somebody outside saying, hold my calls today. You know, not today.
Thanks.
Like, I've always wanted that. I've always wanted my desk, and I've envisioned my little gold plate. And I'm not saying that you can't get that as an entrepreneur, because anything is possible. Anybody, you look at all the companies, they were built by entrepreneurs. But just for me, it's just, I guess I like the challenge of, ooh, I'm running this race, and you know, this is the goal and I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So,
and what you just said is really powerful, and this is what I coach my clients on: the power of visualization. When you say anything is possible, anything really is possible. When I look at you, I see a Black woman who's headed up the corporate ladder and she's happy. Talk about anything is possible. If an entrepreneur out here wants to envision their level of success, that's just as possible, because I'm looking at someone who embodies, I never envisioned being happy in corporate, right? And so I never even could understand someone who was happy in corporate. But as I understand this, you talk about the power of visualization.
Yeah.
So do you have a spiritual practice or a meditation practice or even prayer that keeps you guided and keeps you grounded in knowing what your vision is?
Yes, remember we talked about that. So we talked about that earlier. So I do pray, but it's more like a conversation. And so I don't have like really an outlet. Like, I can't go to work and just blow up when I'm angry. I have a 3-year-old, so I can't blow up at her and use my frustration on her. But you know, God said He was my father and my husband and everything else. So when I come home after work, we have conversations, you know, and I'm just like in the car, like, God, this is what you said. You said I was going to have this. You gave me the vision of the office and the titles and the wealth and the success, because I always have visions of conferences, like doing this on a very large scale for other women and saying, you know, because I feel like I didn't have that. And I feel like I just have this want to share everything that I didn't have access to before the people that are tainted. And I'm like, okay, God, you know, I'm feeling like Lazarus right now, you know. I'm waving my hand, you know. I'm calling for help, and I am dying. Okay, I'm literally dying of the vine here, and you're walking. You're walking. You're not even at a brisk pace. You're strolling. This is a Sunday stroll for you, and I need you to make it here as soon as possible. And God is like, I've heard several times, just wait. And every time I waited on Him, literally, I've elevated things. Success has come out of places I wouldn't imagine. Opportunities have came from places I didn't think that they would come.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, God, I hear you, but I need this to go a little faster.
Yeah.
And I hear all the time, well, Lynn, you're only 33. You're only 33, and I'm like, that's nice.
But we got timetables.
I'm like, but in the next 5 minutes here, what's happening? What we gonna make shake?
Listen, I swear he looking at you like side eye, like a mug, like okay,
yes,
and then he come through.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does. And I'm like, but I didn't have to die, Lord. I didn't have to die. If you would have got here when I wanted you to get here, I'd be still alive right now.
Wouldn't that just be the best situation? Like, come when I tell you to come. Yes. That's one thing that we say. Like, well, because I grew up in the church, so to speak, right? Not your avid churchgoer, but we say all the time, He come when He want to, and but it's always on time.
Yes. No. And when I was in church, they said Jesus on the main line, tell Him what you want, and I'm calling, my phone calls going to voicemail. And you seen that gift? Listen, when the monkey be on the phone, I'm sitting here and I'm waiting. And it's busy signal. Yes. I'm leaving voicemails.
He like, please forward all my calls today. You keep catching them on the day.
And then I've left so many voicemails. Now it's saying voicemail is full. Like,
oh my gosh. You are hilarious. Listen, I can only imagine if I was in corporate with an HR partner like you, just to be able to truly like a human.
Yes.
A whole human. Yes. A whole human with a spiritual groundingness. You have your daughter, right? You have your family. Yes. I think all of that is amazing. I have a question about hiring talent. So, before I left, it was one of those situations. Before we started the interview, you were like, someone told you, if a door closes, right, it's redirection, right? And you're like, no, I want to go here. Yeah. Don't be redirecting me. I remember when I had a conversation with an HR mentor of mine, and she told me, because I was trying I could get a job. That was no problem, but I wasn't happy. And she told me, like, you really should be, like, you have an entrepreneur spirit, this, that, and other. And I kept telling myself, you don't know me. One, you just trying to make it so that I don't get this job. I need the job, right? To give me the job, right? And then, of course, I left, and my life, 3 years later, life unfolds. I'm an entrepreneur. And I think, like, dang, I kind of was scorned at that woman for a while, because I was just like, oh, she just didn't want to give me a job. She wanted to block my blessing. And listening to you, I feel like there's a skill in all of this. Yes. So when you identify talent, and I try to think of this, like, because I think there's nothing malice I don't feel malice energy, right? But when I think of HR, I'm like, oh, they want to hire somebody who's gonna, like, stay a slave in the company and, like, just be there, and they have the propensity to stay there for 30 years because they can get their return on investment. It's such a business decision. But when she can identify, you should be an entrepreneur, and then navigate me into an entrepreneur route, I'm like, oh, there's an objective skill set that allows you to see who's good for this, who's good for that, who'll be happy at this, and who'll be happy at that. Yeah. What is that skill set that helps you differentiate who's a good fit?
It is a skill. When I talked to my mentor about it, and she pointed it out in me, it was something I always knew was there, but I didn't know it was a skill. And it's insight and intuition. Okay. Some HR people have it and some don't. Some people go through the resumes and they're literally just looking and reading the words. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about all the things you may have learned and retained, and the value you may bring. And then sometimes, like, I'll get people and I'll bring you, look really nice on paper, I'll bring you in and I'll talk to you, and I'm thinking to myself, why the hell are you interviewing for this? This is not where you should be. You should be over here. And I'm like, you've been in this for so long, and you think, yes, you're good at this, and you have a great skill set, great experience, but I think you will flourish over here. You know, and so I've had a couple interviews like that, and then people, they were tainted and they were like, dang, so I'm not good enough to be in this department. And it was a thing that I responded and was like, that's not it. It's not that you're not good enough. I think you're better than what you're going after. And so for you to, when you have passion in something and you love something, you excel in it. And so when I can feel your passion or kind of see it, then I'm like, okay, and I notice it and I know the different, because HR works with every department. We don't just work in the HR department and then just blind to everyone else. We see the different cultures in the other departments. We see the skill set. We see the career paths that are associated with it. And we understand the skills that you need on paper, and then also the other skills that, like soft skills, that you need to do well in that job. So, and that's not every HR person. If when you find a person like that and they're like, you would be really good at this, I encourage people to listen to that. You know, because it's not that we're saying, no, get up from over here, you know, you peasant. We're saying like, yeah, you would be good over there. Like, yeah, like I had a guy, he was like gung-ho about being in HR. And I'm like, you're a sales guy, you know, like, and there's a sales part in recruiting. Like, I feel like recruiting is kind of like sales, but it's not fully sales. And I'm like, they make a lot of money over there. Like, I'm trying to help you out. But no, this is what I want to do. I took psychology and I'm excited about being in HR, and I'm like, but I'm not a dream killer either, you know? So if I make a mention to it and I see that you're offended by it, then I draw back.
Got it. Ooh, that's what you said earlier, where it's like you try to coach somebody, but if they don't seem coachable, then you have to pull back. Lord, I'm sitting here like happy that at least I took heed. Yeah. But there are times when
I'm not gonna beat it into you.
Dang. So somebody's like just shooting themselves in the foot, and you're sitting here, because what I was thinking is, you don't have the time to guide so many people, but you do it in subtleties. You do it in small measures, and then if someone's receptive to it, then it can kind of turn into more. But if someone's not receptive to it, I'm gonna take my energy and my thoughts back and let you go and do what you want to do.
And I wish you luck. You know, they come ask questions. Sure, I help you. You know, I answer your questions, but I've learned through therapy that if people don't want your help, don't extend it. You know, save it for the people that want it, or save it for yourself.
Yeah. So you're the talent. You are obviously the talent. You are the talent. And I'm thinking about your resume, your background, like what makes you like tick, right? You grew up, and I'm trying to remember the city, but I know you went to Shaw.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You went to Shaw. You decided to go to a HBCU.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out what was we were first generation, right? For a first generation girl, before she goes to an HBCU, what was your upbringing like?
It was eye-opening. My mom did a great job of showing me, probably over-showing me, the struggles of Black people. I think I was like 7 when I watched Roots for the first time.
Oh, wow. You can't go back after that.
And so we watched like Black Panther Party together, you know, and I remember her. And so that, it kind of made it hard for me to trust my mentor, because I had watched all these different movies and I had heard these different experiences of my mom. And I was just like, she, you know, basically, don't trust them, don't go over there, you know. But I was not having the best of luck on this side with mentorship. And this person was just willing to do it so easily. Like, you know, basically like me, like, if you want the help, I'm here, like, let's get it. So growing up, I was the oldest of 5. So super caring, nurturing. My mom worked a lot. So, well, sometimes she stayed home, but sometimes when she did work a lot, I had to, you know, take care of my younger brothers. So I just grew up always being selfless, because it was no other choice. So I kind of learned to make sure that they were okay, and put myself last. And then I took that into adulthood, and I had to unlearn that. I had to unlearn it. But that was it's probably one of the reasons God set me up like that, because it helps in HR. It's not that I want everybody else to flourish and not kind of suffer, but there's because I had to learn not to suffer through therapy. But there's a thing of where people can feel that I genuinely and passionately want to make sure that they're good. Like I have the ability to connect with people, and I love that about myself. And I think that came from, for so long being a leader at a very young age,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a soft skill that you can't necessarily, you can't manufacture, right? Like you were a leader at a very young age, and you knew, I think about a parallel universe where a young girl is the oldest of how many? 5?
Yep.
And
All boys.
all boys?
I'm the only girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like you get that leadership, which a lot of us do. And again, I'm talking Black women, but you had the education. Mama sitting you in front of like, this is how the world works.
Yes.
So you have really been armed with natural leadership as that's the oldest. But then you've been educated, so to speak. The trust definitely was something for you to get over, but what did leadership as a young girl look like in high school and then in college? And how did you hone in on that skill set, whether you knew it or not?
I think when I was in different spaces, I was so used to being a leader, I naturally took that place. Like if we were doing projects, or if there was like a group to build, or after school, like the debate team, all these other teams, I naturally was just like, let's do it this way. Or I think it works best this way. Like, and I was always able to communicate well, because when I was young, my mom made me read the dictionary.
Thank you, Mama.
Yes. Yes. I could stand that when I was young, but it really helped me. And then she made me read out loud. She forced me to take public speaking classes, while other kids were going to like home ec and learning how to boil an egg and make walk around with a basket of baby. She said, you want to practice being a mom? You got 4 dolls in there.
Yeah.
Your brothers, knock yourself out. She's like, but school is for learning, and so you will be learning real stuff. So she pushed me to learn a second language, and when I went to Shaw, that was actually my major, to learn Spanish, and I built their first Spanish club there. And I was actually fluent for a while, because she would take whatever extra money she had and would she sent me to Puerto Rico for like 2 weeks, so that I could practice the language. And she really poured into me. She invested a lot.
That's beautiful. Your mom sounds like she had a huge role to play in your development.
She did.
Like as a professional and as a person. A lot of times, moms pour into us as people, but you utilize all of that as a professional. I'm curious if you know like what it is that makes your relationship with your mom unique.
Our ability, we talk about everything. She set that up for me for when I was very young, and she was all like, if there's anything that you want to talk about that you're afraid to tell me in person, write a letter, slide it under my door. And so she gave me that safe space that I needed to fully develop and be myself. And when I wanted to walk around and wear weird shirts and pants, she would like, do it. You look great. And because she didn't have that, and she didn't have anybody to tell her, you got this and you can do this. So it was great.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It was great. And so
I'm extremely passionate about helping corporate professionals transition into entrepreneurship. So I had to share the number one thing that helped me develop as an entrepreneur, and that's the morning meetup. I joined the morning meetup specifically for the structure, because I'm leaving corporate America, so I'm used to those morning huddles. We got our sales, we know what our goals are, and we get our day started. So I was missing that for 2 years before I even found the morning meetup. Now, the second thing that I really, really benefited from was the revenue generating activities opportunities was not necessarily a thing before 2021. Now, I had my LLC, I had my website, I had a few clients here and there, but the momentum really took off as soon as I got around like-minded individuals and people who really knew the struggles that I was already dealing with, that I could get over my fear of sales and communicating my value and putting myself out there on social media. The friends that I've developed, the mentors and the mentees that I've created relationships with, everything has really created this environment for us to thrive as entrepreneurs. So if you want to develop as an entrepreneur, you're leaving corporate America and you're trying to figure out how do I get my footing in entrepreneurship, then the morning meetup will definitely be a game changer for you. You can learn with us, you can grow with us. And I didn't even mention that we have a book club. Join us in the community. Let's get started today. You will not regret it.
Now with my daughter, I do the same thing. Like, if you want to wear that, girl, knock yourself out, honey. Like, you look good, girl. You look good. Them hot waters in that and that long sleeve shirt. But what she was doing was building my confidence. And so she wanted me to know that in any room I was in, as long as I was confident, nobody else's opinion mattered. And so that was another skill that I grew up learning, because especially being overweight as a kid and as an adult, I see a lot of people, that's overweight with confidence issues, where I don't really have those, because my mom was always like, girl, you better do it. Like, I always had a lot of confidence, and that was because she beat it into me. And I think she beat it into me because she didn't have a lot of it. She didn't have a lot of confidence, and she was just determined. She used to always say, education is something nobody can take from you. Like, everything that I'm putting into you, she would tell me all the time, you're my investment. I'm investing in you, and you better make good on my return. And I always ask her, I'm like, are you getting your money's worth?
Yes, for the mom and daughter language.
And she says, yes, baby, I'm getting my return. Like, she was like, the other day, she was like, you just make me so proud. And that is the highlight of why I do what I do. Because I'm just like, if she's proud, I'm doing a good job.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's amazing. You have really touched me. Like, I'm thinking that's lit. And I'm thankful for your mom, who grew up. I can only imagine she decided to pour into you in a way that a lot of mothers don't know how, right?
Especially with their girls.
Mm-hmm. That's why I ask you, because a lot of us have a very tough relationship with our mothers.
Mm-hmm. That's my best friend. I couldn't live without her. I talked to her before I got here. We talked for 30 minutes.
Come on, mama. Yeah. That's such a sacred thing. Mm-hmm. I would even say, and maybe this goes into hiring or not, but your ability to be successful in corporate takes a level of groundedness, I feel like. Mm-hmm. You can't find I'm going to say this at the expense of being wrong, but you can't find yourself in corporate. There's not...
You will lose yourself there.
You will lose yourself.
You have to have an anchor.
You have to have an anchor. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what your mom serves for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she's definitely my anchor. And so when I reach out to her, she's like, when I'm having different conflicts or different issues, she's like, now I can't tell you how to say it in the professional way, because I tell me. She's like, she was like, but what I will tell you is you don't back down for nothing. And it's just that kind of stuff is like, she's damn right. I'm not going to back down for nothing. Because I earned this space, and I'm going to stay in this space, and nobody's going to push me out of anything.
No. Mm-hmm. Amazing. You have the vision of going to the top floor, perfect office. I can see it. I know what it looks like, because I can see it. What you also said, you see yourself at conferences. So how do we expound on? How can you expound on that vision?
So the vision is, I guess, just connecting with a lot of other women that maybe be first generation, or maybe they just want the information. or maybe they're in spaces where, because like construction and manufacturing and warehousing, they're full of men. Like there are not a lot of women in leadership positions in those spaces. So how do you? I want to share all the information that my mentor has given me about how you navigate those situations, how you sit in a room full of men knowing you're the only one there that makes an impact on the company, and deal with different mindsets and different conversations and different issues and conflicts that are pushed against you. Because sometimes you could be you have one person on your side, but because they're like, oh, you're a woman, like, no, I don't want to hear that. How do you, it's okay to assert yourself and to be that leader. And if you are deemed as too tough or too this, that's better than being called weak, Yeah. So I just really want to share the information with the masses, and of course, there'll probably be different entities, but I feel like my mom is like a great life coach. She coached me. And so she's always wanted to be in life coaching, but she always have felt like, I don't have the certificates or the, all the accolades and all the letters and all that. But I'm like, some skills you can't learn at school.
Yeah, I agree. This conversation, so being at the conference, right, we're there, and you're helping other women understand how to hone their power, which now opens up the world of being like, the world really is your oyster. I'm thinking of a conference where there are entrepreneurs and corporate professionals sitting down, listening to Lynn speak about how to own your power, how to change your mindset, and how to think about showing up in these conversations when you do sit at the table. And therapeutically release that anger.
Yes.
There's a whole thing in there. But what you just said about when you said your mom is hesitant about going into the life coaching space because she doesn't have the certification. There's this distinction, I guess, between coaches and I'm getting my master's in social work. So this conversation is happening in between therapists and coaches. You don't have your certification, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then you're in HR, so you have your certifications, but you also have life experience. So if you could expound on that, the value in talent and credentials, how would you I guess what's your opinion on a person going out there, let's say charging $10,000, $20,000 to work with them. They don't have credentials, but they have life experience, and they're saying, hey, I can get you this result.
I would go with that person. Honestly and truly, I feel like I value experience over the just going to school and getting the certifications. I know it's a part of, you needed to look good on paper, but it's just you could have all those experience at school and all those degrees, and still I work with people every day that I feel like you got a degree and I don't know where your brain is. I think it's over there. And not over there. Well, maybe you left it before you came to talk to me. But and I work with other people who don't have any degrees at all, and those are my best conversations. Those people I learn things from on the daily. My mom being one of them, she has a high school diploma, but she's never went to college and got all these degrees and certifications. But I go to her for some of my hardest scenarios, and she's always able to help because she has the life experiences. And she's, been through the fire and the flames and came out. And so those experiences kind of mold you. Yeah. No diamonds are made without pressure. Yeah. So if you came, no offense to the people that came from those wealthy families where they were able to, just swiftly go through things and easily go through things, but their value and as far as knowing on a broad, on a wider spectrum thing versus the person that has went through all of life and then, got the degrees and then came to the table, I'm going to pick this. I'm going to put my money on this one.
Let's go. Ooh, okay. So we started this whole thing saying you didn't know, you had all of these like experiences, right?
Yeah.
You had been in, I can imagine, the HR generalist, the compensation, like all of those different roles. You met your manager, she pieced the puzzle together. You said, ha ha. Now, we sat here and we listened to your whole story. I understand like how, not whole, because I'm sure we just scratched the surface. But then we also hear your corporate experience. We hear how you add value. Amazing, right? Now, what I didn't ask you was like, if we think about what that puzzle actually looked like. Now, and I'm thinking about the women that you help at the conferences. I'm thinking about you being in your 24th floor office with the glass window looking over the beach. I'm giving some more.
Yes. Still want that little secretary out there.
Right.
How you doing, Mary?
Right. You good, Mary, thank you. Because you know Mary know what she doing. Now, how do you communicate what it is that you do? And how do you add value? How do you help people?
Strategy. I feel like I add value through strategy because it's just like you bring me all of your pieces, but I help you put them together. I help you to decide, whether this is what you want to do or this is what you don't want to do. And that's just not on a personal person-to-person life coaching thing. That's with, the whole business, because people come to me all the time, well, I'm trying to staff this or I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, that's a good plan there, but maybe take this out and put this in, or maybe throw that away all the way. And, I don't see this there and I don't see this piece there. Oh, I didn't think about that, so it's all about having a person like me that's able to see bird's eye view. Because sometimes when you're in it, you can't see everything that you're missing or everything that's excess, just excess, like that you don't need. So I think that would be my thing.
Yeah, strategy. I can see that. Being able to see how each of the cogs work now allows you to see how the engine operates. Would you consider yourself a businesswoman with like the interpersonal superpowers, or would you consider yourself the word is I can't even find it, but it's something more so like, soft with business acumen.
Soft with business acumen, definitely.
Yeah. Do you think your business skills allow you to communicate like what those superpowers are, like in a revenue, like a revenue perspective?
Yes.
What would you say? What would you say the worth is? The value of that skill set.
Hey guys, it's Ariel from the Work and Play podcast. If you're getting any value from this channel, and I mean anything from the tutorials to the podcast to the random videos that you see on this channel, then I just ask that you do one thing. Please subscribe. Subscribe and share this to anyone that you think this resonates with, and drop a comment below so I know what other things that you want to see next. Now let's get back to the episode.
Just you mean like just the intuition, the insight, and those soft skills?
Those type of skills, yeah. How can we value those in the marketplace?
And I think that's always my issue. It's like I have those skills, and even when I talk to Akia, shout out to Corporate Smokers, y'all better go check her out on IG. She's like, Lynn, charge. Like, where is your quote sheet and your this and your that? Because, she comes from that marketing type background. And I'm just like, I just want to help people. And she's like, helping costs. But I've never really put a number to it. I've never thought of it in that way. I mean, at work, yes. But in just overall in my life, it's just like, always been a thing of like, I just want people to do well.
I would love to challenge you in this moment. And as I challenge you, I'm challenging me. Because we live in a world, it's easy. Oh, investment banking, 70,000 minimum. That's right out 22 years old, 70,000. Okay, Finance skills, cool. 55 minimum, right? Oh, okay. You worked on an engine before? Cool. Put a number on that, right? And you got so many people in this world who are great, superhuman people at these soft skills, and we flounder because the world hasn't set a dollar amount, so we don't know what the dollar amount is, and we don't feel justified in asking for that dollar amount.
Yes.
So I want to challenge you, because I don't sit with HR powerhouses often who have the you have the mindset to look at a talent and from an objective standpoint truly value the person in a non slavish kind of way. So for us, it's important to know how priceless it's priceless, I know, but how do we truly value that skill set? When you think about anytime that skill set shows up in the workplace, you're like, ooh, if it hadn't been for that, this whole thing would have went to shit, right?
Yeah.
There are situations that prove these skill sets to be valuable, and I'm just asking if you would think about a number, and it's not going down in ink anywhere, but what's the value of a skill set like that?
My boss, my mentor, she always talks about it, and she's like, at one point I was making almost $300 a year, and that number, it just took me back. I was like, I've been thinking way too small. I was like, $300, $1,000? She said, yeah. I was like, wow. Wow. So I agree. I do need to find a number.
I like 300,000.
You like 300,000?
I like that. I like it. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah. She was like, you can build companies with the knowledge that you have. She was like, you don't think it's worth it?
Boom. You just said it. I'm running with it, and I'm not just running with it. Now I have. Building companies with that? You got it, girl.
Yeah.
You got it. 300,000. Thank you. Check, please. I'll be sending you the invoice. Hey, Mary, send the invoice.
Mary, send that out for me, please.
Thank you so much. This has been such a treat. You don't even understand.
Me too. I have enjoyed this, really.
This is amazing. So, as we wrap up, I think about the people who have yet to push themselves, challenge themselves. Not just take the leap out into entrepreneurship, but take a leap. Take the small leaps, take the big leaps.
Jump.
Listen, you're ahead of my question, because I'm just wondering, what do you say? You are now kind of in the mentorship seat at the moment, right? And what would you say to someone who has to get past being tainted? Let's just start there, because it's a tough place to be, and it's hard to receive. So, and this is the only time I'm gonna ever ask you to help somebody who doesn't necessarily need to be helped right now. But what do they need to know?
You gotta start with the inner workings. You gotta make sure that you're good, that you can get over that tainting, and then you'll be able to build on that. And I feel like in the workplace, find your niche, find what you like, your passion. Your passion is what equals the money. I feel like a lot of people don't know that. What you love to do, that's where the money resides. Find it and push through it, and don't allow people are gonna come after you. They could come after you from all angles. You're gonna be tainted in more way than one, baby, like my mom says. And you are gonna have to push through and give it back, because sometimes I feel like holding all those offenses, like Pastor Mike says, Transformation Nation, holding all those offenses, well, how you gonna carry your blessings? Where you gonna put them at? So you got to be able to throw those down so you can be able to receive all the good things that life has to offer you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Listen, y'all, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Lynn, if there's someone out there they wants to connect with you, they just want to see you grow and flourish, right? And then eventually when you have, something out here, people like, I need some of that.
Yeah.
How do people connect with you? How can they work with you?
Logical_Lynn. I'm on IG. And then you can click contact and it has my email. You can text me. You can reach me just about anytime.
There you have it. Well, you know what to do. Go ahead and get some of this superpower energy. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know you have too. So you know what to do. Go ahead and do your homework. Until next time, I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Peace.